Today we explore The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, a poignant and deeply personal novel that offers an intense, introspective journey into the life and mind of its protagonist, Esther Greenwood. This novel, often regarded as a seminal work in feminist literature, provides an insightful look into the struggles of mental illness and the societal pressures faced by women in the 1950s. The Bell Jar is a poignant novel that captures the essence of mental struggle, societal pressures, and the pursuit of identity. It starts with Esther Greenwood, a young, talented woman who wins a month-long stint at a prestigious magazine in New York City. Despite this seemingly glamorous opportunity, Esther feels out of place and disillusioned. The bustling city life and the superficiality of the fashion industry do little to alleviate her growing sense of alienation. The novel opens with Esther's reflection on the execution of the Rosenbergs, a real-life couple executed for espionage. This fixation on death sets a somber tone and foreshadows Esther's own descent into depression. In New York, Esther meets various characters who represent different facets of society and womanhood. There's Doreen, the rebellious Southern belle, Betsy, the wholesome, optimistic girl from Kansas, and J.C., Esther's demanding boss. Each interaction exposes Esther to different lifestyles and values, yet none seem to resonate with her deeply. Throughout her stay, Esther grapples with her identity and future. She feels the weight of societal expectations, to be successful, to marry, to be a certain kind of woman. This internal conflict is exemplified in her relationship with Buddy Willard, her college boyfriend. Buddy represents the conventional path of marriage and domesticity, which Esther finds both alluring and repulsive. A revealing visit to Buddy's sanatorium, where he is recovering from tuberculosis, further distances Esther from him and the life he represents. As Esther's time in New York winds down, her disillusionment intensifies. She feels an acute sense of failure, unable to write the novel she aspired to or connect meaningfully with the people around her. Her return home marks the beginning of a downward spiral. Rejected from a prestigious writing course, Esther feels directionless and trapped. Her mother, who represents the traditional expectations of society, is unable to understand her daughter's plight, further alienating Esther. Esther's mental health deteriorates rapidly. She experiences insomnia, stops bathing, and finds herself unable to read or write. Her mother takes her to see Dr. Gordon, a psychiatrist who prescribes electroconvulsive therapy, ECT. The treatment is traumatic and ineffective, plunging Esther further into despair. In her darkest moments, Esther becomes obsessed with the idea of suicide. She researches various methods with chilling detachment, reflecting her profound disconnection from the world. Her first attempt, swallowing sleeping pills, leads to a near-fatal incident. This suicide attempt is a pivotal moment in the novel, representing Esther's ultimate surrender to her inner turmoil. Esther's recovery begins in a city hospital and later continues at a private mental institution, funded by Philomena Guinea, a benefactor inspired by Esther's writing. Here, she undergoes more ECT, this time properly administered, and meets Dr. Nolan, a female psychiatrist who becomes a pivotal figure in her recovery. Dr. Nolan's understanding and empathetic approach stand in stark contrast to previous treatments, providing Esther with a sense of hope and understanding. The institution also introduces Esther to other women dealing with mental illness, including Joan, a former acquaintance who becomes a close friend. Through these interactions, Esther confronts various aspects of her own experience, gaining insights into her condition. The novel delves deep into the experiences of these women, shedding light on the spectrum of mental health issues and the societal stigma attached to them. Esther's journey through mental illness is marked by moments of clarity and introspection. She reflects on the nature of her illness, the societal expectations that have shaped her life, and her desires for the future. The bell jar, a recurring metaphor in the novel, symbolizes Esther's feeling of being trapped, suffocated by her mental illness and the pressures of society. As Esther progresses in her treatment, she begins to reclaim aspects of her life. She starts writing again and plans for her return to college. Her relationship with Dr. Nolan deepens, providing her with a maternal figure that understands and supports her. However, Esther's path to recovery is not linear. She faces setbacks, including the shock of Joan's suicide. This event forces Esther to confront her own mortality and the fragility of her recovery. Yet it also serves as a catalyst for her to distance herself from her past and focus on her future. As the novel nears its end, Esther prepares for an interview that will determine her release from the institution. She reflects on her journey, acknowledging that the bell jar may descend again, but with a newfound strength and understanding. Esther's story ends on an ambiguous note, with her stepping into the room for her interview. This open-ended conclusion leaves readers contemplating Esther's future and the nature of mental illness and recovery. In analyzing The Bell Jar, it is essential to recognize the novel as a seminal piece of literature that delves into the complexities of mental illness, societal norms, and the struggle for identity, especially for women in the 1950s. Sylvia Plath's narrative is not just a mere story. It's a profound exploration of the human psyche under the constraints of societal expectations and personal turmoil. A critical aspect of The Bell Jar is its depiction of mental illness. Plath's representation of Esther's descent into depression and her subsequent recovery is rendered with brutal honesty. The novel challenges the stigma surrounding mental health, especially during the time it was written. Plath doesn't shy away from discussing the various treatments for mental illness, from electroconvulsive therapy to psychotherapy. The stark contrast between the ineffective and traumatizing treatments administered by Dr. Gordon and the more understanding, empathetic approach of Dr. Nolan underscores the evolving perceptions and treatments of mental health during that era. This depiction serves as a critique of the mental health care system and highlights the need for compassion and understanding in treating mental illness. The Bell Jar is often heralded as a feminist text, and rightly so. It critically examines the role of women in the 1950s, a period marked by rigid societal norms and expectations. Esther Greenwood's character is a vessel through which Plath explores these themes. Esther feels the pressure to conform to traditional roles of marriage and motherhood, yet she is also drawn to a different path, one of personal and professional fulfillment. This dichotomy represents the struggle faced by many women of the time, torn between societal expectations and their own aspirations. Plath's novel also tackles the issue of female sexuality, a taboo subject in the 1950s. Esther's ambivalence towards sex and her struggles with sexual identity are portrayed with raw candor. This aspect of the novel was groundbreaking for its time, challenging the prudish norms and highlighting the need for a more open and honest discourse on female sexuality. Another significant theme in The Bell Jar is the search for identity. Esther's journey is not just about battling mental illness, it's also about finding herself in a world that seems confusing and overwhelming. Plath masterfully captures the existential angst of youth, the desire to find one's place in the world, and the fear of losing oneself in the process. This theme resonates with readers, making the novel not just a historical piece but a timeless exploration of young adulthood. The use of the bell jar as a metaphor is a stroke of literary genius. It symbolizes Esther's suffocation and isolation, both mentally and socially. The bell jar represents the invisible yet palpable barriers imposed by mental illness and societal pressures. This metaphor extends beyond Esther's personal experience, symbolizing the condition of many women who felt trapped in roles that society dictated for them. Plath's autobiographical influence on the novel adds another layer to the analysis. Knowing that Plath's own life experiences closely mirrored Esther's gives the narrative an authenticity and depth. Her struggle with mental illness and the societal pressures she faced as a woman provide a deeply personal context to the story. This connection between the author and protagonist adds a poignant realism to the novel, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. The narrative style of The Bell Jar is another aspect worthy of analysis. Plath's use of first-person narration allows readers to experience Esther's thoughts and feelings intimately. This narrative choice effectively conveys the sense of entrapment and isolation that Esther feels. The straightforward yet poetic style of Plath's writing captures the nuances of Esther's mental state, making her journey all the more impactful. Furthermore, the novel's setting in the 1950s is significant. This era was a time of great social change, yet it also was a period where traditional gender roles were strongly enforced. By setting the story in this era, Plath provides a critical commentary on the societal norms of the time. The expectations placed on Esther by society serve as a backdrop to her personal struggles, highlighting the restrictive nature of these norms. In terms of character development, Plath excels in creating complex, multi-dimensional characters. Each character Esther interacts with reflects different societal values or aspects of her psyche. From Doreen's rebelliousness to Betsy's naivety, these characters represent the diverse paths and choices available to women, each with its own set of implications and consequences. Lastly, The Bell Jar is significant for its impact on literature and culture. It has become a cornerstone of feminist literature, inspiring generations of writers and readers. The novel's honest portrayal of mental illness, its critique of societal norms, and its exploration of female identity have made it a timeless piece that continues to be relevant and influential. In conclusion, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath is not just a novel about a young woman's struggle with mental illness, but a profound critique of the societal norms that contribute to that struggle. It's a timeless piece that resonates with readers even today, offering a deep understanding of the human psyche and the societal constraints on individual identity. If you found this exploration of Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar insightful, please consider subscribing to our channel for more literary analyses and book summaries. Your support helps us continue providing thoughtful and engaging content. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to sharing more literary journeys with you.